Thousands of National Guard troops are now back in the Capitol building after being forced to move to a parking garage. Did you hear about this? U.S. Capitol Police apparently told troops they could no longer use the space within the U.S. Capitol complex as a rest area. So check out what happened. The group was then forced to rest in a nearby parking garage without internet reception, just one electrical outlet, and only one bathroom for about 5,000 troops. Top lawmakers from both parties were outraged and demanded the decision be reversed. The National Guard troops have since moved back into the Capitol building. Now, Congressman Issa wants to know what happened here. What is the full story of why our National Guard troops were ordered out of the Capitol and into the garages, or into this particular garage? And our congressman is standing by right now, live via Zoom, joining us with his thoughts on what happened. Congressman, great to have you on.
Well, thank you for covering this. It really is one of those things that you have to get to the bottom of who disrespected our men and women in uniform. As we went through our process last week, oddly enough, one of our votes was waiving General Austin becoming the Secretary of Defense. I walked past many of these troops who were trying to catch sleep. When they say rest area, we're talking about people that are on 12-hour shifts, and then they're trying to catch some sleep, and they were forced to be in a cold, dark garage with no way to recharge their phones and the like. And this is not a decision that anyone, at least I don't believe, had anything to do with Capitol Police, many of whom served in the military, but more likely had to do with top leadership in the House and Senate deciding that they didn't want these troops who had protected us to, in fact, be in the way, because they were in uniform. They were carrying their firearms if appropriate, and but they also were sleeping in the Capitol exactly the way they were sleeping in Saddam Hussein's palaces in the Green Zone when they needed a place after winning the war. And so for me, it was the right thing, and the decision to move them out was the wrong thing. Thank goodness moving them back in is the right thing again.
You know, what is it like at the U.S. Capitol? I mean, in terms of, is there a place for them to rest? You know, it kind of paint the picture for us, for those of us who do not know what the complex is like.
Well, the best way to put it is that at any given time, we would have 5 to 8 or 9 or 10,000 people in the greater compound. In other words, in the Capitol building and the visitor center and so on. But under current situation with COVID and the lockdown, there were 0 visitors. So there really was just a matter of maybe 1,000 members of Congress and key staff, and plenty of capacity in the visitor center for these folks to spread out on their cots and catch a few hours of sleep, eat by their bunk and so on. Again, not since the Civil War have we needed to house so many troops in and around the Capitol. But of course, not since not since 1817 has the Capitol been attacked quite this way.
Yeah, you know, you take a look at those images, and it doesn't matter where you stand on things. I mean, the pictures has you shaking your head, you know, just going, what in the world happened? Why? So now, Congressman, how do you plan to get to the bottom of this? What measures or actions are you taking at this point to, you know, backtrack a little bit and figure out why did this happen and how do we avoid this from happening again?
Well, I've asked the ranking member on the Committee on House Administration to get any and all official correspondence that occurred that asked or that indicated not just the second wave, but a number of the decisions that have been made by the Sergeant at Arms and the Capitol Police that we don't believe would have originated by them. Now, to be candid, I believe that Nancy Pelosi is a big part of this. She was terribly unfair to the National Guardsmen last summer when they were called out around the country in response to the riots. And I don't think she particularly wanted to see these troops in the Capitol any longer than necessary. But right now, a big chunk of them are still there, still making sure that the force ensures that anarchists or anyone who wants to disrupt government can't do it. I look forward to the day when that subsides. But as long as the FBI tells us that there are still activists, both left and right wing, that we need to guard against, overwhelming force will, in fact, ensure that there'll be no attacks.
Okay, well, that is good to know. Hey, by the way, do you know if Nancy Pelosi has responded at all to the images or the pictures or the questions that are starting to rise as to, maybe this coming back to top leadership in the House and Senate?
Well, she is not very good at responding to questions. She always tries to defer to somehow somebody else made the decision. But the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy, knows that he wasn't consulted. He made it very clear he would not have pushed our men and women out into a cold garage. And by the way, it wasn't like where they were staying was luxurious. It simply was the best place available for the hours they had between their long shifts. I know if this is a change of subjects, but, the fact is that for all of us, we want to get back to normal in Washington. And normal in Washington means that both parties consult on decisions like this rather than finding out after the fact that there's been a unilateral decision, one that quite candidly shocked both Republicans and Democrats. And you've seen a number of members, there's 74 of us in the House and 17 in the Senate that served in the military. But the amount of people that denounced this was far greater than that.
All right. Well, Congressman, we know you will keep us updated on what you discover. By the way, on totally off topic here, as you know, we've been covering and talking about the passing of Larry King. Our producer extraordinaire, little Tommy, tells me that you had the opportunity to meet him a few times. What was he like, or what was that like for you?
Well, it's amazing. You never noticed that he was asking you questions. I would meet him at social events in Washington, awards dinners and so on. As a matter of fact, one of them was after one of his heart attacks. And I tried to ask him questions. The next thing I know, I'm telling him my life story. He was so good at it. He was so good at turning a phrase into a question and then into another one. And by the way, even when he was having health problems, he was always somebody with a smile and a way of engaging people, and he'll be missed.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Congressman Darrell Issa. Good to have you on. Great conversation. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Isn't that true? He was so smooth. Larry King. I mean, it's like Congressman Issa said, he's just talking to him and then next thing he knows, he's like kind of being interviewed by Larry King. That's how smooth Larry King was, right?